Welcome, everyone. This is the first of a series, hopefully over the next few years. We're going to be having class, for the most part, on Monday nights, up over here, starting at 8:45. We gave a little 4-minute leeway this week, but we're going to be starting at 8:45 sharp. Next week, class is going to be moved to Tuesday night, so everyone keep that in mind. It's going to be Tuesday night next week at 8:45. The idea... No, just one time next week. For the main part, class is going to be a recap, something thought-provoking over what we studied over the past week. So over this week was only 3 perakim, but next week it'll be 6 perakim, as we'll usually have 6 perakim a week. And this class will be further develop those points, maybe point out something thematic, or we'll see any hidushim, what the rabbi has to put together for us. We hope everyone can attend. If you like it, you can tell your friends to come, friends and family. If anyone would like to help sponsor the event, this first event was sponsored by a bunch of my friends over here on the committee. Very nice, you guys. Announce them. I don't want to forget anyone. Doris, Joey Pinchas, Michael Franco, Morris Sakal. Who else am I missing? Jojo Towel. Edward. Ovadia. Good. Got you all.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's that? How much am I giving?
So if anyone wants to help sponsor next week, we'd appreciate it. And again, everything you put in is really coming back out to you guys. So sit back, enjoy.
So I trust most of us have Tanachim with us because we're going to be, that's going to be a necessity. We might be flipping back and forth. I apologize from now. The topic is really the Meragelim of Yehoshua. Why would Yehoshua send Meragelim? For what purpose? Especially since if you take a look in Yehoshua Yud Aleph, which is Aleph Yud Aleph, you'll find that he's already announced to the people that they're crossing the Yarden in 3 days. So, why would Yehoshua decide to send Meragelim, spies, especially in light of the tragic implications that the Meragelim seem to have caused to Moshe Rabbeinu? There is no greater sin than Hayta Meragelim recorded in the Hohma. There was no greater punishment. Remember that for Hayta Egel, the Moshe Rabbeinu was able to achieve complete forgiveness. Not so for Hayta Meragelim. Am Yisrael wandered in the desert for 40 years, and we know that an entire generation lost the opportunity to enter into Eres Yisrael. So, why risk it? What would be the point of Yehoshua sending Meragelim? Now, in order to fully appreciate that, and in order to be able to answer that question, I'm going to spend at least half of the time. And although this is supposed to be a class on Yehoshua, I'm going to spend at least half of the time in the introduction analyzing the actual Meragelim of Moshe, what and how went wrong, and then let's see, when we understand that, if we can understand Yehoshua better. And I think it's crucial to be able to understand the Meragelim of the Hohma, to see what Yehoshua did, how he prepared himself, and why he would do so. So, let us now go back to Perashat Shelach. A Perashah we're all very familiar with. The story of what? Who said that? Story of what? The story of the Meragelim, you said. That's how everyone would say it. That's how I would have said it. The problem is the word Meragelim doesn't appear in the entire story. Not even once. Not even does the root regel appear even once in Pirakim Yud Gimel or Yud Dalet. So I don't know why we call this story of the Meragelim, but we do. Why do we even call it Heta Meragelim? But we do. Anyway, God appears and he tells Moshe, Shlach la'anashim v'yaturu et Eretz Canaan. Now that's the verb we want to talk about. So if we want to talk about these people, let's call them Hatarim et ha'aretz, because that's all the Hohma ever tells them. Tarim. So we're told, Shlach la'anashim v'yaturu et Eretz Canaan. Now, we want to understand, the first question I want to say is, what did they do wrong? What did they do wrong? They were sent to find out information. They come back. They give what seems to be an honest report. And everyone gets angry at them. How could you say that about Eres Yisrael? And why is Moshe so upset? In fact, as some Mefarshim point out, Moshe Rabbeinu himself, very often, in preparing them for war, tells them equally as harsh things about the inhabitants of Eretz Yisrael, of Eretz Canaan. Nevertheless, for some reason, these 12 Tarim are considered to be, or 10 of the 12 Tarim are considered to be sinners that have done something wrong. The Ramban answers, and the Ramban says, what they did wrong here was they seemed to have overstepped their authority. They seem to have reported that we shouldn't enter into Eretz Yisrael. And by saying that, they sinned. We'll come back to that. My question is, well, how did that happen? How were they able to do that? How were they able to accomplish overstepping their bounds? So let's begin a little bit of analysis of this parasha, Perikim Yud Gimel and Yud Dalet. So let's start with the verb tad, or veyaturu. What does that mean? Where does it come from? Right? What was the mission of these people that were sent latur et Eretz Yisrael? So the first thing we need to do is figure out what this word means. So let's think. Can anyone think of some places where this word or verb comes? Now there's one obvious place that everyone's going to get. Huh? So that's something really obvious, something that you say every day. Lo taturu acharei lebavchem v'acharei einechem. So something is to do with, obviously this doesn't mean to spy, doesn't mean to spy after your heart, right? That wouldn't make sense. So v'lo taturu acharei lebavchem v'acharei einechem would seem to be to stray, to wander, maybe to seek out things. Okay? So we're already understanding that this verb is very different than what? Than to spy. Right? Okay. I'm going to take a few other cases, maybe a little less well known, about where we can find this this verb. Right. So yeah, in midbar Yud Lamed Gima, when they're traveling, Vayis'u mehar Adonai derech shloshet yamim, ve'aron berit Adonai nosea lifnehem. The Aaron goes in front of them. Derech shloshet yamim latur lahem menuha. So the Aaron, which is a representative of Kadosh Baruch Hu, is going ahead of them. Latur lahem menuha. That is this mission of the Aaron, right? To what seems to be, and I'll translate it loosely, to search out for them a resting place. So latur seems to be some form of a search. that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or the Aron of Hashem, performs. In Devarim, we're told that Hashem Elokechem holech lifnehem latur lachem makom lahanotchem. Right? God goes in front of you, latur lahem makom lahanotchem. Again, it's part of, this verb is something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. An interesting one, in Yehezkel, this verb also appears. In Yehezkel, Perek Kaf, Pasuk Vav. I told you I would be forcing you to turn pages, but that's only if you would like to see it yourself. Otherwise, I will read it for you. In Yehezkel, Perek Kaf, Pasuk Vav. Bayom hahu, nasati yadi lahem, l'otziam me'eretz Yisrael. I promised to take them out of Mitzrayim. El eretz asher tarti lahem, zavat halav udvash. So here, probably the most interesting use of it is the land that I tarti lahem, that I sought out for them. Meaning now, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu was tar et Eretz Yisrael. So now let's go back and see what the mission here is of these tarim. Now if we go back to our parasha, we have an idea of what this verb means. Latur lahem menuha, to seek out, to search, right? The land, Eretz asher tarti lahem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says about himself. So now let's go back. God commands Moshe Rabbeinu to send people veyaturu et Eretz Canaan. Right? I would say that their mission seems to be a godly mission. There seems to be doing something that God himself did. Yehezkel says that he is Eretz asher tarti lahim, that I will say, translate, sought out for them. So these Meragelim, I said Meragelim, I shouldn't have said that. These tarim, all right, see, myself too. These tarim are what? Are part and parcel, are joining a divine mission. They are going to show and take part in God's actions. God is tar lahem et haaretz. They are also going to do that. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants them latur et Eretz Canaan, to seek it out, to search it, to look at it, maybe to formally accept God's gift, to go seek out the land and officially and formally be recipients of the divine abundance of God's beautiful gift. Look at it. Seek out the land. Analyze the land. Well, now, let's take a look at some of the things that Moshe Rabbeinu tells them to do. And let's keep in mind, if this is the mission, you would give spies. Right? Uritem et haaretz mahi. See the quality of the land. And see if the people that live there are strong or weak, or are they few or many. Is the land good or not? In other words, we're already told that God promises that this is the land for us, and it's a beautiful land. But the people have to make that judgment for themselves. Is it good or not? Are the cities fortified or not? Is the land shmena imraza? Watch how he goes back. It's tempting to say that there is a spy mission here, because the nation, we have to look, is the nation strong or weak? I would, however, assert that the nation's strength and weakness and the land's abundance are all connected. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling him, I want you to look at the quality of the land. I want you to look at the quality of the people, because that reflects the quality of the land. I'm not giving you an empty land, uninhabited. I'm giving you a land that people live on. that supports people, that supports strong nations. So all of the questions are pointed to the quality of the land and the quality of the inhabitants of the people that live on the land. There is no charge to find a strategic route. There is no charge to find a battle cry. There is no charge even to see about the strength of the armies. Are the people strong? Are the cities fortified or not? But there is no charge to find military protocol. That's lacking. So we would assert here that the Tarim are not Meragelim. They're not sent to be spies. They're sent to actually be recipients, formal recipients, and partners in God's seeking out of this land. And that's why they're diplomatic representatives of the people. Right? When you send spies, you don't send one from each tribe. There's no point. You send your best spy. You certainly don't publicize their journey. Nevertheless, all of this is being done. Okay, so their sin is a little obvious now. If their journey and their point is to be recipients of God's gift, there is nothing worse than the rejection of the gift that God has given them. They have not fulfilled their mission. Contrary to what we would think, that they're reporting an honest report. No. Answer the questions, and the questions were clearly meant to get a positive response. So, we see the problem here with the Tarim, right? But something's interesting. Let's take that sin of the Tarim one step further. It's not only they reject the land, but for some reason, they answer the questions that were not even asked to them. They start answering and they say, "Lo nuchal la'alot alam ki hazaku mimenu." We can't go. Who asked you? Who asked you? Yes, they start saying, "Banu el haaretz asher shalachtanu, gam zavat halav udvashi, ze pirya." And all of a sudden, "Efes ki az ha'am, v'arim betzulot gedolot me'od, v'gam yilidei ha'anak ra'inu sham." Yilidei ha'anak. I didn't ask you about that. Amalek yoshev be'eretz ha'negev. Who asked you about where Amalek is? The Yoshev Bahar, v'aknenu Yoshev al hayam, v'yad al Yarden. Right away, Kalev understands something's going wrong here. In fact, the Meragelim didn't seem to say anything wrong yet. Right? They just reported, and they said the land is good. But Kalev understands there's a departure of the mission. They're not answering as Tarim. They're starting to answer as Meragelim. And then they say right away, and so Kalev stops and says, "Alon alev yarashnu." Well, stop. Remember, we're going. That's not our job. And they say, "No, we're not." Lo nuchal la'alot ki hazaku mimenu, vayotziu dibat haaretz asher taru ota el bnei Yisrael. No greater sin. The land that they were supposed to tad, than motzi dibat. The land that they were supposed to accept as a divine gift, the motzi diban, of course, then we know it gets even worse. Eretz ochel yoshveha, nefilim, and that's it. Tremendous sin. How does that happen? How could they do this? How are they able to change their mission? So in order to answer this question, we now need to look at the second story in the Chumash, and that is Devarim. Devarim Aleph has a little bit, there are very well-known contradictions here to the story of the Meragelim. And here, we do find the verb liragel. And here, They are called people that were Meragelim. ותקרבון אליי כל המשלחה אנשים לפנינו ויחפירו לנו את הארץ. Not ויתונו. No, we want spies. And guess what? וישיבו אותנו דבר את הדרך אשר נעלה בה. I want a tactical military mission. Different mission. It's not God's idea. It's the people's idea. A lot of contradictions. We're not even going to deal with all of them, but there's a lot. There's many more than we're going to talk about. So, the people have an idea. It's clearly a military expedition, and Moshe likes it, and he takes 12 people. ויפנו ויעלו ההרה ויעבור עד נחל אשכול וירגלו אותה. And they spy it. What happened? What was the mission? Were they spies? Were they tarim? Whose idea was it? What happened? Another point. Why does Moshe not go into Eretz Yisrael? Why is Moshe punished not going into Eretz Yisrael? So who can give me the answer? Right. He hit the rock. Right, that's what it says in midbar. But in our parasha, Gambit hanefashim miglachim. It's because of you. And he connects it here to Meragelim. So much so that Abarbanel says that he was punished for the Meragelim. Oh, that story about the rock, says the Abarbanel, that's just to not make Moshe look bad. That's what he says. That's the Abarbanel. That's just, in fact, Aharon wasn't punished for the rock either. Aharon was punished for Egel. Moshe was punished for Meragelim. The story over there, the rock, Abarbanel, we don't want to accuse Moshe of being guilty. So that story is something that the Torah uses to soften the blow. But by the next generation in Devarim, Moshe admits, this is why I'm punished. Well, tremendous hadush of the Abarbanel. But why would Moshe be punished? What did Moshe do wrong?
Was it the way that Moshe defined the mission? Return את הארץ מהי, ואת העם היושב עליה, החזק הוא הרפה, חזק, מעט הוא אמרה. מה הערים אשר הוא יושב בהנה
במחנים ובשרים.
ובמבשרים, ומה הארץ אשר מנה היא אמרה. Why was he giving them those choices?
Well, we already said why.
Was he preordaining the answers?
Of course he was. And that was the point of the mission. The point of the mission was them to accept the land as God's gift.
Then he didn't have to say, give those.
I think the opposite. I think you need clear parameters. I think the problem comes in Devarim. I think the problem comes when the people say, we want spies, and Moshe says, okay, that's a good idea. And he's right, it is a good idea. It's a good idea to send spies. But the crucial error comes when what happens? There's two missions. God's mission, of course it's God's mission, so it's a great mission. Latur lahem et haaretz. That's a good mission. The people's idea, that's a good idea. The Ramban says, you need tactical spies to send things. Even though God says you're going to go, you can't be somech on the nes. Spies are a good idea. Valuable idea. So what's the problem? The problem is they're two separate missions with two very different type of people that need to perform them and very different conditions on the way they should be performed. So if I'm going to send spies, who should know about it? No one. Who should they report to? Me, the head of state, and me alone. If I'm going to send tarim, no, that might be a very profound journey. That Am Yisrael is sending their representatives. That may be something that needs to be proclaimed throughout the nation. What's the problem? The problem is, right, when the two missions are merged in one. Now I'm setting myself up for a problem. When Moshe says, I like the idea, and guess what? You know who's going to do it? Those 12 people we're sending already. We're sending them already. I don't know, maybe we have some budgetary concerns. I don't know what it was, but 2 missions in one. When that happens, and again, Moshe l'shem shamayim. Moshe was, we can't imagine that Moshe, God forbid, intended anything other than the purest intentions. But that momentary lapse of leadership, to see what can happen, is where the problem enters. And that enables the Meragelim to abuse their power. If they were only Tarim, they would have no right to tell me about Amalek. They would have no ability and no credibility to even speak about it. If they were Meragelim sent quietly, they can speak about it all they want, but they're telling it to me, and I'll make the decision. But when they're Meragelim and Tarim, they have the ability to report back to the people because they're Tarim. And they also have their ability to report on tactical missions and on the tactical state of affairs and on the military situation because they're Meragelim. And the merging of these 2 missions create tragic consequences for Am Yisrael. And hence, Moshe Rabbeinu, Gambit anaf Hashem biglalchem. Is it bad to send spies? It's not bad to send spies. And how do we know it's not bad to send spies? Because even after this mission happens, Moshe Rabbeinu does it again. And he sends spies. Right? When does he send spies? Right. In midbar, Perek Kaf Aleph. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu, in the midst of the Sihon conquests, he decides he is going to send Meragelim to spy on a place called Yazer. And it seems to work out fine. And there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with sending Meragelim. So, spying alone is not a problem. Okay? That's my intro. Now, let's take a look at Yehoshua. Yehoshua has, and it's really all in the first few psukim. Vayishla Yehoshua bin Nun min hashitim shnayim anashim. 2 people, Meragelim, unknown. We don't know who they are, and guess if we don't know who they are, nobody knows who they are. So we send 2 Meragelim. Herish, in secret. We send them secretly. Well, that should be obvious. Of course we're going to send Meragelim secretly. You're not going to proclaim, even as it was, they were found out pretty quickly. So, I will read to you the Radak. The Radak says, yes, they were sent secretly. I'm just going to read to you the Radak. Herish רוצה לומר בסתר שלהם. He sent them secretly. כי לא רצה, he did not want, שידעו, that who would find out about this? Well, I would assume that Anshe Yericho, I didn't want them to find out about it. But he says that's not what Radak says. כי לא רצה שידעו ישראל. He didn't want Yisrael to know what was going on. כדי שלא יפחדו בשלחו מרגלים. They'll get nervous, מרגלים, what's going on? Maybe it's not so simple. In other words, yes, Yehoshua sends Meragelim. Like Moshe sends Meragelim. Liyazer. But he clearly understands the past. and he learns from the past. And the very essence of the first few psukim is telling us how Yehoshua learned from the past. If I'm going to send Meragelim, I'm going to send Meragelim. And Meragelim alone. And the first thing is, nobody except me will know. Whatever their report will be, it's coming back to whom? To me. And that the Radak is very clear. Abarbanel takes this point of Radak and goes even further. Abarbanel says, Arba sibot hayevu kilkul inyan meraglim. There were 4 problems with the Meragelim. Harishon, hayotam shluchim bi Hashem, ki ze yahayev she'aminu lekulam. They're important people. They were the messengers of God. I will add to this Abarbanel. More, not just the messengers of God, but what we said, maybe the partners of God. They were messengers of God to go on a godly mission to accept the gift of Hashem. They were tarim. That doesn't happen here. Yehoshua is sending them on his own. He is not sending messengers of God on a rigul mission. So Abarbanel is very sensitive to that. Second, Heyotam Rashi Alfei Yisrael. They were heads of state. That can't happen here. Why do you send heads of state? You only send heads of state on a diplomatic mission. You don't send your heads of state to spy. Third, Sheshilaham Inyan Hitzoni She'eno Miteva HaMiragelut. Here it's almost mifurash. He sent them on external, non-miragel missions. That's what we pointed out. They were tarim. Shenemar uritem et haaretz hashmenahi hayesh ba'etz. What does that have to do with spies? Well, we know it has nothing to do with spies, because these people weren't supposed to be spies. Everything we said, it's right here in the Bible now. Harevi'i sheshilahama Moshe b'atzat kol Yisrael ubiyadiatam. The fourth, all the people knew what was going on. Yehoshua avoids all 4 problems. There's nothing to mix. There's no 2 missions mixed up. There's no divine messengers here. They're simple spies that nobody except Yehoshua knows about their identity. If God forbid these people bring back the wrong message, Yehoshua says, thank you very much. I got it. I'll decide to do what I want to do with your information. No one will never know. So, the point is, Yehoshua learns very quickly from the past. In fact, there is another point that the Kli Yakar brings, which he says something interesting. He says, well, this is the Kli Yakar, not that this is Lanyado Kli Yakar, Rabbi Shlomo Lanyado. So the Aniyut Dati nireh shemoshe shalach meraglim mimakom rachok midbar paran chach nimshach hanezek ki kasher shamu ki az ha'am natnu libam lashuv leMitzrayim. Yehoshua corrects another point. Moshe Rabbeinu sends Meragelim because he was very far, even from far away. They weren't even close. We know why. Because this was a diplomatic mission of pomp and ceremony. You don't have to, it's not something you do right before you attack. Says the Kli Yakar, Nithakem Yehoshua lahar sheshalcham karov la'aretz. Mahalach shloshet yamim levad. They were only 3-day journey away. This was clearly an immediate preparation for entering into the land. So, we see that Yehoshua seems to learn from the past and send them in a correct fashion. But I still didn't get to the point. Okay, now I know how he was careful, how he protected himself. But why? My question is, why send the spies? So, with here, I will end with the words of the Ralbag. The Ralbag looks in this point, and the Ralbag, in a very lengthy introduction to our Perek, says that Yehoshua will send the spies for what could be two potential reasons. One, to literally find out the best tactical way to attack. That's one way or one reason why Yehoshua might have sent the spies. Or, he says, they might have sent the spies just to show the people that their mission will succeed, to convince them of the success of their mission, because to show the state of affairs of the people of Yericho. Meaning, according to the second option, maybe the mission of the Meragelim wasn't to look at all the tactical points of how to attack Yericho, but rather to find out the state of mind of the people of Yericho. Why is that important? Because if the people of Yericho are afraid, if they're scared, this will only serve to strengthen the Jewish people. The Ralbag says it could be one of two. Now, if it was the first one, did the Meragelim's mission fail or succeed? Well, if they were supposed to find out all the tactical points of Yericho, it was a failure. Says the Ralbag, we also shouldn't imagine that that was the point. Why not? Because was there really a real battle in Yericho? Was there a tactical attack? No. They surrounded the city 7 times, the wall went down miraculously, and they went in and they attacked. It's very possible. And we wouldn't expect him to be somech on the nes, that's true. Nevertheless, unlike the other cities that he attacked, which were real military missions here, yes, with divine help certain times, but here it seems to be a purely miraculous attack. But also, the Meragelim's mission would have been a failure if they were supposed to look at where to go and how to attack. And we don't seem to sense from the response that the Meragelim come to Yehoshua that they've considered their mission a failure, especially from the reports back. So it seems to be, from the text and the reports back of the Meragelim, that they viewed their mission as a success. Well, if they viewed their mission as a success, says the Ralbag, it only must have been mission number 2. And maybe that's why they went to Rahab's house. It's not the normal place you do when you want to spy a city, but it is the place when you want to figure out what people are feeling. And they find out very quickly from Rahab. She reports very quickly exactly the state of mind of the people. At that point, all they need to do is get home. Hence the whole plot with Rahab and how they would escape. So it seems that they accomplished their mission. And according to Ralbag, the point of Yehoshua sending Meragelim was simply to strengthen the hearts of the Jewish people, and all they needed to hear was what? All they needed to hear was the words of Rahab. V'chi nafla ematchem alenu v'chi namogu kol yoshvei haaretz mipenechem. That's all they needed to hear. They accomplished their mission. That's what they needed to report back, to tell the people, this is their state of mind, and this is why we're going to be successful. And that's really how the Ralbag understands the purpose and why Yehoshua sent Meragelim. Oh. Well, let's read. You have a Tanakh. You have a Tanakh, right? Open it and take a look. Read us the pasuk. Who's the first one who's going to read me the pasuk? All of you. That's it. Right? That's all. And by the way, that's all that Yehoshua needs to hear. How do they know that? And that is the success and the successful completion of the mission of the Meragelim.
If these Tarim were commanded to be Meragel, why were they punished for adding on their opinions about everything?
Again, Leragel, again, it is true that by sending the Tarim as Meraglim, that enabled them to violate their initial mission. That doesn't mean they're supposed to do that. If you have true concerns as a Meragel, those are reported to Moshe, not to the entire nation. Right? But you violated, as the Abarbanel said, you used, and this is what we wanted Moshe to see, potentially that could have happened. Moshe trusted them. Moshe said, of course they're going to do what they're supposed to do. These are 12 great men. But that trust that he put in them enabled them to violate it. So what they did is, as Tarim, they had a certain response to report to the nation. As Miraglim, you have concerns, go to Moshe. But you were divine, you were on a divine mission, leaders of the people, as the Barbanel said, selected by Moshe publicly. So you used your clout not to report Miraglim concerns, but to advance your conclusions as a Miragel and to advance your agenda. You use the trust Moshe put in you to advance an opposite agenda than that of Moshe Rabbeinu. There is no greater sin than we can imagine than that violation of God's trust, Moshe's trust, the people's trust, and using your clout and using Moshe's trust that he put in you to also accomplish a Meragel mission, to publicize your agenda. There's nothing worse. And that's why they are called the evil Edah. They are evil people. They have violated that trust. So I want to make that clear because I think you were the second or third person that asked that question. I want to make it clear. This doesn't whitewash the Meragelim. If anything, it makes their sin even much greater than we thought beforehand. We've understood how bad was what they've done. Right? This is not just an honest, objective report that we don't like the answer to. Right? This is something that is clearly a purported violation of the ultimate trust that is put in them. So I think that, like I said, it's not something that we can excuse them for. It's an inexcusable violation of what they were supposed to do.